Alrighty, and welcome back to the Gex 3D and to the Gecko commentary with me, Skully the Metalhead, and today, well, we're going to be going on getting ourselves a manicure with the Texas Chainsaw Manicure. A level with a pretty fantastic level pun, and, it's a level that I do really enjoy a lot. I mean, if only for its simplicity, I suppose. I mean, that comes with all of these cutscene tier levels where we just have one remote to get, just traversing our way through a series of challenges. Which I do wonder, to some people, whether or not this would have been a little bit more beneficial in terms of, you know, being a level set, because, I mean, there are some people out there that do... Well, I suppose before I continue on that little trope, I don't think many people would have thought of jumping off there, but then again, there is the little, crawl pathway to clue you in, so yeah. But anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, that's right. Oh fuck, I completely forgot. Well, yeah, now I remember what I was talking about. I suppose many people probably would have seen this as a little bit more beneficial to have, like, you know, just one remote. You get to play the entire level and just have the collectibles and silver remotes as your means of replay value, which I suppose... Well, I suppose that probably would have been one way of handling it, for those who find the levels a bit tedious, but at the same time, though, I think if you're going to be going into collectathon platformers, I think this is the kind of thing that's sort of to be expected, but at the same time, though, I think most people who play the game would probably more sort of define this kind of thing based upon what they find fun. And so long as Crystal Dynamics can keep the gameplay fresh, what the fuck is going on? I don't think many people would mind. Outside of that horrible slowdown, is this my editor? Hang on a second. Okay, I think I've sorted out the problem. Anyway, onward... Wait, what was the phrase I was thinking of? Yes, go softly on! A phrase I'll probably never use again. Hopefully. I don't know. You never know what I might say. I managed to somehow incorporate the phrase keep it new metal into my vocabulary, and it hasn't left me since. Skullyisms, I suppose. Ooh. Damn. Yes, for some reason there's also a picture of Gex in these photographs, which is rather bizarre. But anyway, level at 4 minutes long, not too big in length. In fact, I'd say this is probably one of the more solid horror trope levels. Although, that being said, this is the final one of these, this game, so taking the scenery while it lasts, because we'll be never coming back here again. Let's see. I was actually doing a brief calculation of the amount of parts we have left, which I usually tend to do either 3 or 4 levels usual, with some of them being bonus missions. And, if this is part 8, I think, then I think we only have 1 or 2 parts left to go. But in the case that this is the penultimate part of this game, then, holy fuck, this was over quicker than expected, although, then again, not necessarily too shabby about that, since, well, I do have something planned for 2018, in January, no less. What will that be? I kind of alluded to it in the previous part, well, previous 2 parts actually, back in fine-tuning. But I shall keep my lips sealed on that. Then again, I think most people probably would have seen it coming, depending upon what I decide to do, because I might not have done it yet. As I probably alluded to earlier, I'm recording this out of sync with my personal timeline. And I do kind of mean that. But anyway, enjoy the cutscene.
Chinese secret, huh?
I have absolutely no idea why the hell the, you know, Kung Fu themed cutscene plays in the horror level, or what the hell that was even meant to be alluding to. I mean, what the fuck is an ancient Chinese secret? Well, I suppose if I knew, then it wouldn't really be an ancient Chinese secret anymore. It'd be a modern-day Australian fact. Jesus. I don't know, man, this just... Again, the cutscenes in this game are so fucking bizarre because they don't match up to anything, and they don't even tell a fucking story, because most of the story could be expunged with the intro cutscene. Well, and the ending cutscene too, I suppose. But anyway, we're back to the third, I think it's the third and final Kung Fu level, actually, which is kind of depressing because I really love this level trip, especially this one specifically, because, I mean, much like the bonus mission that was set within this level trip, I love the background of this. Like, I mean, compared to the other one, it's a little bit more of a sunset hue, but goddamn does it look nice. Like, I mean, I know it's more or less just 2D artistry that's there to serve as the level backdrop, but man, I love the aesthetics in this level. Plus, the music is pretty damn funky in this level. It's always a good sign, you know? But yeah, there's gonna be a fair bit of editing in this part because, you know, gotta get that silver remote, which is obtained by all the collectibles, as well as the secret hidden remote, which is, rather cleverly hidden, I'd say. In a bit of a Banjo-Kazooie kind of way, in the sense that the hidden remote is just obscured out of your camera's view, but if you know where to look for a specific way to get to it, then you should get it quite easily. That being said though, the platforming with a D-pad is actually quite difficult here. Yes, well, I'd say even with an analog stick, but even then, you know, I don't know. I suppose the best bit of advice I can really give you with platforms like that is to watch where Gex's shadow is, because that's usually a good indicator of where you're gonna land. Well, then again, in any decent platformer back in the 90s, I suppose the drop shadow of where Gex is going to land is a decent indicator to show how to time your jumps. Yes. That being said, though, I don't think you should find the platforming in this level too difficult. With this power-up, I didn't really do a good job of explaining it in the previous part with the horror levels, but I suppose I can go into greater detail as to what the ice power-up does. Basically it's just like an inverse firepower. Like, I mean, outside of its special ability to run around in a circle and freeze things, it makes you run faster. I think it might protect you from damage, although I'm not entirely sure. I'm gonna say no, because I think that might break the game a little bit. But that being said, though, I don't know. What the fuck's going on with the music right there? Oh no, wait. I think it was just a slow glitch. Or, at the very least, a slow transition, because I think CD quality music tended to do that at times. Or was that a quirk with the Mega Drive or cartridge-based systems where they had the music playing in sync with the sound effects or something? I don't know. And yeah, surprise bit of editing. I'm kind of surprised I didn't use an Optimus Prime transition there, but I don't really need to take a break, because I got a decent commentary flow going. But yeah, this is all in service of getting all the collectibles to get the silver remote. As soon as that's done though, I will, well, as soon as I get the silver remote and complete the secondary objective, I believe, I will then cut back and do the Optimus Prime transition, because I'll probably run out of commentary by that point, and in turn, well, you've already seen this much of the level and how to get to the end of the television section already, so no need to show it all again. Ancient Chinese. Yeah, this right here. And the good thing is you do have a teleporter to get you back up there, but I mean, even still, that's a bit of a fucking risky move right there. Again, like, I mean, I don't want to judge Gex entirely for it, since quite a lot of games back in the 90s were guilty of doing stuff like this, but even still, it's a practice that I'm pretty fucking thankful we've abandoned. And again, it's something you can find, admittedly, if you turn the camera, but even then, you'd have to be pretty fucking bored. Well, again, it just counts on your desperation to find all the silver remotes, which, again, you know, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, in the 90s we had more refined tastes and we could find anything since we were dedicated. But honestly, I mean, this is just a case of God dang it, as TV tropes would like to put it. I don't know, I mean, it just seems fucking obscure. I mean, things like that, you know instinctively what to do, because, I mean, there's something that's just a little bit off to give you the impression like, oh, maybe I should try something with this. But, I mean, with things like, oh, you just had to turn the camera and you can see the obscure thing is the place. I don't know, that kind of shit just kind of pisses me off a little bit. Then again, I'd also like to think that video game designers have gotten a little bit more intelligent on how to work for 3D. Then again, I suppose most of the indie developer people who are currently working in the industry mostly focus on 2D projects if, you know, today's indie scene is anything to go by. But, you know, that being said, I would like to see some give more attempts to 3D platformers, which again, if Yooka-Laylee is to be believed, they are somewhat returning to. I don't know. But to me, I don't think there's really enough variety, which I suppose I probably could talk about after the break, since the Optimus Prime transition is coming up in a few seconds. But that being said, though, yeah. And here we go, end of the stage. Now, as per usual, Optimus Prime transition, activate. Okay, took a quick break and had a quick drink of the Pepsi, and we've completed the second tier mission. Admittedly, considering my gripes about file sizing and everything like that, I probably would be committed to skipping quite a lot of things, but, you know, gotta show off the level, the commentary on the video game, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I've completely forgot the tangent that I promised I was going to talk about in this latest section, which I think was about 3D platformers and the kind of variety they could put in them, which, to me, considering the fact that the genre is, well, at this point in time, somewhat seen as having a comeback, I don't know, part of me would kind of, if there is going to be a big 3D platformer revival, at the very least I kind of hope they do what they were doing with it in the PS2 era, which is trying to, excuse me, oh god, so sorry about that, indigestion. I just hope that they just try and add a little bit of variety into it, because I think what led to the death of the 3D platformer was, well, outside of general interest, and the rise of Grand Theft Auto style games, I suppose, was really combination of those two, because, you know, the 3D platformers back then were trying to innovate and trying to add a couple of things into the mixes. I mean, like, you had games that were still trying to put it through, like, I mean, Ratchet & Clank and Vex, which was a rather obscure platformer, actually, and I recommend you all check that out, because it's rather fun. But yeah, they mysteriously disappeared around about the time the PS3 and Xbox 360 and all that came out. Like, I mean, unless, of course, you're a legacy franchise like Mario or Sonic or anything, you're pretty much doomed, which is why Gex never got any more games. Although, then again, I suppose most of that could be attributed to the fact that Crystal Dynamics is either forced to, or they just want to work on nothing but Tomb Raider. Which really depresses me. But in any case, the end of the level's here, and we have another space level, which is not very fun. Oh, Gex. And I'm all for having a good time, you know, in front of the kids. And we've unlocked the final boss area. Well, we won't be going there just yet. We still got a shitload of missions left to do, and yeah, we got stuff to do, man, so let's delay ReZ's plans and just do the rest of the stuff. Yes, this is our next space mission called Pain in the Asteroids. And this level kind of sucks compared to The Empire Strikes Out. I don't know, I mean, for me, I think what kills it for me is the lack of interesting set pieces, because I mean, when people say that they dislike the space missions, I get the impression that this is the one they're talking about more so than The Empire Strikes Out, because this, in terms of missions, it's mostly like a destroy 5 men of things, or, you know, just get to the end of the television after a long stretch of time. That combined with, you know, your decreasing air meter and just the lack of set pieces, unlike the rocket with the last part, not very interesting. It's just, not a fan, go even maven. And I don't know, there's just not really that much to talk about, I suppose. I mean, then again, you do have R2-D2, which taps into his inner force powers, which I'm absolutely convinced that R2-D2 has, like, the only force-sensitive Jedi in the Star Wars trilogy. I don't care what Disney or Lucas does to the canon, it's headcanon and it's official to me. I suppose now is the time to break out the tangents. The delicious, delicious tangents on the phone. Or the telecommunications device, which I will have right here. And again, I'm really struggling for trivia here because, again, while I was still searching out for things I could find on Gex to Enter the Gecko, a lot of the information and trivia that I was searching for on TV tropes mostly came for Gex 1. And interesting bit of trivia was actually 2 pitches about what Gex was going to be for the initial game. The first pitch, which I have right here, is that Gex was a Hollywood-stung gecko who must save his film studio from financial troubles, which is an idea that was shot down by Greg Tavares, I'm not necessarily sure how to pronounce that, so if I'm butchering your name, sorry dude. But it was shot down by him under the pretense of it being lame. And he goes into a little bit more detail into this on his blog post, which he talked about the development troubles that Gex 1 had suffered, and in retrospect, while I do think it might have been a bit of an interesting story premise, at the same time I can kind of see what he was, getting at with the idea being a little bit lame, because considering that Gex was, supposed to be going through a plethora of levels, I think, or at the very least the way in which he described it from like the art design of the western level, I suppose he criticized it for looking a little bit too fake. I suppose kind of similar to how Super Mario Bros. 3 looked, in the sense that it was like a big stage production, so yeah, I can kind of see what he means in that respect, but at the same time though, I think it was an okay-ish premise compared to the second pitch. Fuck, it flipped over. Whoopsie daisies. Anyway, the second pitch for Gex's story, which is before the final one that we got in the actual game itself, Gex was living on a Gecko island where a portal opened up and a swarm of flying demons with pitchforks abducted all the geckos on the island, with it being up to Gex alone to save the day. Now, that second pitch I think sounds a little bit too generic. I mean, I'm pretty sure that exact same backstory was used in Echo the Dolphin, just replace aliens with flying demons with pitchforks. So I can see why that idea was shot down, in favor of Gex being from the real world and then getting sucked into TV land. I mean, I don't know, not for nothing though, I can see why demons with fucking pitchforks would have been an interesting threat, and hell, I think it might explain ReZ's design being so fucking nightmare fuel inducing, but that being said though, it does seem a little bit too generic-y platformery, and not to mention, considering what we know of Gex's character as a wisecracking TV gecko, doesn't really seem to fit that well. Although then again, I'm sure had this kind of game been made in this day and age, people would have been, oh look, it's for the kiddies, and the Nintendo fans would have loved it because they suck and are too lame, not cool enough, which is what I am, because the Sega. And I suppose I could go back to that thing that I wanted to talk about all the way back in the Kung Fu levels, that, I don't know, like the kind of platformers that appeal to me are platformers with a bit of an edge to them. Like, the PS2 era Ratchet & Clank games, blowing shit up, and doing all that kind of stuff, Jak 2 and 3 even. That shit was fun to me. For me, and again, I think it's the same thing that is what kind of deters me from the 3D platformer genre in general, is kind of the whole idea of Nintendo platformers, which are rather, again, from a gameplay standpoint, they're designed to be a series of challenges that you do, and again, I'm probably generalizing with that statement, and again, I'm sure it probably doesn't go for all of them, but again, that's a little bit too cutesy, a little bit too safe for me, and I'm the kind of person who prefers a bit of an edge to my games. Which I suppose is why I tend to be attracted to Sega despite their fluctuating quality, because again, in spite of the fact that it's, despite whether or not it's well programmed in quotation marks, it's still an experience that they go, hey, what can we do that's fun? Which is part of the reason why, I think a lot of the Sony platformers were really to my liking, because again, Crash, Spyro, Ratchet, Jak and Sly, oh, so many good memories, and I actually had some pretty good writing on them, especially for the PlayStation 2 platformer trio. Well, Ratchet & Clank, initially, some of the... And I'm not necessarily even talking about the future games, really, I'm saying more so for the stuff that came after A Crack in Time that came a little bit too generic-y platformery, I suppose. Even then, I think that's a bit of an insult to generic platformers, because it tended to go a little bit downhill after the Future series. And even a lot of hardcore fans actually say the series went down with Tools of Destruction, really, with the whole Last of Us Kind subplot and all that, but I don't think it was too bad. And I suppose, since, we're getting on in levels, I suppose I could probably talk about some of my fears if Gex, was to be remade for this current generation, and it's that, while I can see, like, an infinite amount of potential with, the amount of television shows he could parody, the amount of movies that he could parody, or even some of the internet-produced web series that he could also parody, considering that it's become such a big part of our lives, and, the internet is technically a part of the media dimension, I suppose. I suppose part of my fear is that, without Dana Gould or anybody, decent at the writing helm, it could just lead to a lot of, cringy reference jokes like, oh my god, look at this, and it's funny because it's the reference with the thing and the television show that's, in the cultural consensus. Which, again, I'm not necessarily saying that's bad because everybody has a different taste in comedy, but for me, my biggest fear, just having Gex, say stuff that's more so culturally relevant to the time, rather than just referencing television that encompasses a wide span of time, because, as I mentioned all the way back in part 1, Gex doesn't just reference stuff from the 90s here. He's referencing stuff from, as far back as, the 30s and 40s. That's just how much, effort that I think Dana Gould put into writing Gex's jokes. In terms of being a wisecracking Gecko, which I don't think he necessarily had to do, but it encompasses such a wide range of, stuff that it's just... It just feels a little bit more balanced and as if they're not trying to, play to the crowd or just appeal to, the current gaming audience, like a set of executives inside a boardroom going, what can we do to make the most money and create such a hilarious product? And again, maybe it's just me and I'm just being paranoid. Again, I sincerely doubt that they will bring Gex back at all, considering that Crystal Dynamics is owned by Square Enix, which I think is partially Japanese owned, if I'm remembering correctly, so again, who knows really, but that's just my little niggle, and again, if Gex does come back, that's probably going to be my one prevalent fear in terms of the story, in quotation marks. That being said though, while I do think some levels probably could have used with a little bit more of a, defining attribute, so to speak, like the prehistoric levels, there are some levels that I do think, really could benefit from just, having a little bit more homages and such. You saw the Star Wars sequence earlier on with the spaceship in the previous space level. You even saw some of the stuff in the, Circuit Central referencing Tron, but I suppose you could go above and beyond with some of the other levels, but at the same time, though, I think, the general references speak for themselves in kind of a Spaceballs kind of way, where, while it does look quite similar to Star Wars, at the same time, though, it's still telling, for the most part, its own story, while just, having a bunch of silly parodies of, stuff. Because, it's not just Star Wars that Spaceballs does, it does, a little bit of, it has a little bit of Alien in there, quite literally, in that sense, and, it's not done in a simple, hey guys, do you remember this? No, it's actually used, for a purpose, whether it be a joke or anything like that, and to me that's just a little bit more tasteful than just saying, hey guys, do you remember this? It's funny, because we do the things. I don't know. Again, maybe this is just how my weird brain works, or why a lot of internet memes don't necessarily entertain me as much as it does for a lot of other people. But then again, I suppose it really more so goes into how well constructed the joke is and what exactly it does to earn its laugh, rather than just simply being, look, it's reference, laugh, you pathetic humans, laugh. Anyway, we're coming close to the end of the stage, which is good. Goody goody goody. Yes, the slip of the tongue, baby. That line should have played to the full. Oh, Christ. Yeah, be careful on this, because you can easily fall off, and, yeah, in space, nobody can hear you scream, because you will die. Look at our silver remote. Always fantastic. And after this short little platforming sequence, well, we're just about done with this. Anyway, on that note, I'm Skully, keep it new metal, and next time on the Gex 3D Enter the Gecko commentary, it's either the last part or the semi-last part. Catch you later.
Nice try, big boy.